If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's certain tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place.
Witchy woman, she got the moon in her eye.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Witchy Women Podcast. Today I'm going to be talking about astrology and how to break it down into an easier way for you to understand what each planet means and what each house means. So, for starters, if you're finding out your birth chart, you must put in your exact birth time and your exact birthplace. If you don't put your exact birth time, even just being a minute off can change your whole natal chart. So it's very important that you get your specific birth time. So your big three is your sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising sign. So your sun sign is the most commonly known sign. It's the sign you say when people ask, "What's your sign?" That would be your sun sign. The sun sign is determined by your date of birth, and it is a very general and reaching description of you as a person. So mine is in Virgo. And then your moon represents your own perception of your emotions and fears. Because the moon moves much quicker than the sun, it changes constellations around every 2 days. So even among people who share a sun sign, each person could have a different moon sign as well. That's why, if I'm a Virgo and I meet another Virgo, we probably won't have the same moon sign since it's always changing every 2 days. So we would have to have a birthday within 2 days of each other. This can help explain why even though you might have the same sun sign as someone else, you may feel widely different than them. So then your rising sign, my moon is in Leo, I forgot to say. Your rising sign is your social interactions. So it describes the way you present yourself to others and interact on a daily basis. Your rising is determined by what constellation is on the eastern horizon when you are born. Because the Earth completes a full rotation of all constellations in 24 hours, your rising sign differs by around every 2 hours of your time of birth. In other words, make sure to be as precise as possible with your birth time. And this is what I was explaining because, as you can see, that changes every 2 hours. So, you want to be very specific. These 3 signs should give you a pretty detailed description of your personality. My rising is in Sagittarius. To break your natal chart down even further, we have to look at the location of each of the planets in relation to the constellations on the day that you were born. Each planet represents a much more specific aspect of your being. As an overall rule of thumb, if you were born at a time when a planet was in retrograde, which is, if you guys don't know, an optical illusion that happens infrequently where it seems as though a planet is moving backwards, you will likely be more reserved in that area. For example, people born when Mercury, which is the planet dictating the way you communicate, was in retrograde, are said to be more introspective and less talkative. While each planet can definitely get its whole article describing its implications, I'm going to keep it pretty short and easy for you guys to comprehend. So Mercury is the planet that rules the way that you communicate with others. So depending on what sign you have for Mercury, it's gonna let you know how well you are with communication, if you don't communicate well with others, if you're really good at it. So that's where it comes into play in like relationships or friendships, that you might be like, I am such a communicative person and you're not, and it really bothers me, and I just wish you would open up and be as communicative as me. So it's also how you talk, how you think, how you process information, and it also indicates how you learn. So Mercury is the mind's planet. And then your Venus is who, what, and how you express love. It indicates how you express affection and the qualities you're attracted to. So like for me, it says mine's in Libra, meaning my romantic side is idealistic and eager to please. I want an equitable relationship and I'm willing to make compromises to get there. I can be a little self-obsessed and may have trouble being realistic or loyal in my relationships. And then also with each planet, it also tells you what house it's in, because that's a whole different thing, and I will get to that after I explain all the planets. Your Mars is the planet of aggression. It determines how you assert yourself, take action, and the energy that surrounds you. Particularly in your sex life, your ambitiousness, and when you're angry. Also your motivation, confidence, and inner drive. Your Jupiter is one of the two social planets. Jupiter rules idealism, optimism, and expansion. It's also your ethics and general philosophy surrounding life. This sign can also predict areas where you will be more lucky, abundant than other areas. Saturn is another social planet. It rules responsibility, restrictions, limits, boundaries, fears, and self-discipline. So your life goals, your limitations, your feelings of inadequacy. Uranus stays in each sign for 7 years, meaning it rules a generation more than a person. It rules innovation, rebellion, and progress. What and how you are willing to stand out, seek freedom, or stay within existing boundaries. Your Neptune stays in each sign for around 14 years, meaning it rules a generation also more than a person. It rules dreams, imagination, and the unconsciousness. Also, the aspects of life that you are inspired by or tricked by, such as addictions. This sign is known for usually only correlating in hindsight of events in your life. In your Pluto, the last one, it stays in each sign for up to 30 years, meaning it rules a generation more than a person. It rules power, intensity, obsession, and control, where you feel helpless and where you most want to make a change. So all of this really does help you as a person, understanding who you are, why you act the way you do, your emotions, and stuff like that. So then let's get to the houses, because then there is a house in each of these planets, which also goes further into describing them. So the first house begins the zodiac and covers the all firsts. So first impressions, the self and appearance, leadership, new initiatives, fresh starts, and beginnings. The sign on the cusp or starting edge of this house is referred to as your rising sign or ascendant. So it's ruled by Aries. The second house covers all matters related to your immediate material and physical environment. So your taste, your smell, your sound, your touch, your sight. The second house also rules income, money, and self-esteem. And this is ruled by Taurus. Your third house rules all forms of communication. Talking, thinking, gadgets, and devices. So cell phones, pagers, instant messenger. The third house also covers siblings, neighborhoods, local travel, libraries, schools, teachers, and community affairs. And this is ruled by Gemini. Your fourth house. The Cancer-ruled fourth house sits at the very bottom of the zodiac wheel, and thus rules the foundation of all things. This includes your home, privacy, your basic security, your parents, particularly your mother, children, your own mothering abilities, nurturing, and TLC. So that's ruled by Cancer because Cancer is a very sensitive sign. The fifth house. Your fifth house is ruled by dramatic Leo, and it governs your self-expression, your drama, your creativity, color, attention, romance, fun, and play. So that one's ruled by Leo. Your sixth house is the domain of health and service. It rules schedules, organization, routines, fitness, diet and exercise, natural and healthy living, helpfulness and being of service to others, and this one is ruled by Virgo. Your seventh house. Your seventh house is the sector of relationships and other people. It governs all partnerships, both business and personal, and relationship-associated matters, like contracts, marriage, and business deals, and that's ruled by Libra. Your eighth house. The eighth house is a mysterious sector that rules birth, death, sex, transformation, mysteries, merged energies, and bonding at the deepest level. The eighth house also rules other people's property and money, real estate, inheritances, investments, etc. And this is ruled by Scorpio. Your ninth house. The ninth house covers the higher mind, expansion, international and long-distance travel, foreign languages, inspiration, optimism, publishing, broadcasting, universities, and higher education, luck, risk, adventure, gambling, religion, philosophy, morals, and ethics, and that's ruled by Sagittarius. Your 10th house is at the very top and most public part of the chart. The 10th house governs structures, corporations, tradition, public image, fame, honors, achievements, awards, boundaries, rules, discipline, authority, fathers, and fatherhood. The cusp or border of the 10th house is also called the midheaven, and it clues astrologers into your career path. This one is ruled by Capricorn. Your 11th house rules teams, friendships, groups, society, technology, video and electronic media, networking, social justice, rebellion, and humanitarian causes. It also rules originality, eccentricity, sudden events, surprises, invention, astronomy, science fiction, and all things futuristic. And this is ruled by Aquarius. And then last but not least, your 12th house. The zodiac completes with the 12th and final house, which rules endings. This house covers the final stages of a project, tying up loose ends, completions, the afterlife, old age, and surrender. It's also associated with separation from society, institutions, hospitals, jails, hidden agendas, and secret enemies. And it rules the imagination, creativity, arts, film, dance, poetry, journals, and the subconscious mind. And this is ruled by Pisces. So I know that might be a little overwhelming and it's a lot to cover, but I think I broke it down in a very simpler way for you guys to understand that. There's a lot that goes into it, and it's very complex, but it also is complex because it's trying to get down to the root of exactly who you are, and it can help you understand yourself. When I read all of mine, I feel like personally attacked, but in a way where it makes me realize, okay, that's why I act the way I do in that situation. That's why I feel that emotion when I'm feeling it. So it's needed to be complex. And then you guys can also, after you log everything in, your birth time, your birthplace, your natal chart will be a picture and it will show you everything for you. So there's a lot of different websites you guys can go on to do this if you guys are interested. You can just Google natal chart websites. There's a different couple apps. I have the CoStar app, and I like that one a lot because you can add friends on there. You just get their username, add their friend to your friends list, and then it tells you like what houses you have the same and what planets you have is the same as your friends. And it tells you like, oh, because you're both Leo moons, this is how you're similar in this aspect, and then it explains it a little for you. So I think that's really neat. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns about astrology or the natal chart, or needing a good website or app suggestion, I will put a link in the show notes of where you can leave a comment or a question, and I will be able to read that and respond to you guys in another podcast. So yeah, you can leave it right below, and I will talk to you guys soon.